from the organization that I'm on the board of. And the IRS is like, interesting, possibility of self-dealing. Like, this could also be a racket to make Dave Murphy look at the clothes I'm wearing. So we have, by design, 3 people that are outside the system where we often have to recuse ourselves, all 10 of us, from a 13-person board, because we're interested. This is the intricacies of nonprofit management. And these 3 people live other places, and we're just relying on them not to like jump us, and one, we all have to recuse ourselves. And how we did that is they're all really good friends of a whole bunch of ours. They don't know each other well. They're not all one place, so they'd have to conspire together and really build a team. and other things. And they're just super. Our secret agreement with them is, and these are amazing people, is if you ever disagree with what we're doing here, morally, ethically, financially, we totally respect that you're giving us you're taking liability by being on our board and not being really part of the governance, because we govern as a collective here at OAC in reality, but the IRS says it has to be the board. So if you ever disagree, would you please step off the board rather than fighting to the death over the control of the organization? That was our founding agreement. We can't write that down, that's illegal, but we can culturally have that kind of agreement. And these 3 people are like, absolutely, we love what you're doing, even if we disagree someday, we're not going to, but minds can change and this and that. So any questions, comments about this?
So did you develop this over time, or did you learn how to do this from somewhere else?
The clarity of that I could draw this has emerged over time, and that any of us could draw this, and any of us could. I have a privilege problem. I'm white, I'm a male, I'm overeducated, and I'm raised on the coast of California, which gives all those things are elements, and there's other ones. I'm a heterosexual.
Speak English.
I speak English. There's a whole stack. I'm a stacked problem of privilege, and unless we do something to ameliorate that, I will be exercising probably more power than is my due, because just you and I, you're close, so I keep going to you. Just the differences of just our gender, I think we all understand, put me in a position to express my latent power more than you, regardless of having earned it or not, or regardless of not having earned it. So that means that kind of notion of power, privilege. I mean, take race, right, or class, or ethnicity, a whole bunch of things, sexual identity. We know this well. Just cuts people up and down the sort of assumed or power quotient that people have and authority in society. So designed systems are ideally meant to level the playing field so that everybody is participating in a fully self-actualized way, and we're not just deferring to the outcomes of the particular culture we happen to be in. And that's one of the more challenging things, like to go back to what I said a minute ago, like I seek consensus-based participatory processes where facilitation is rotated, because it enables me to be a more appropriate actor. I'm more self-actualized in that process, and that's good for me. And who amongst us are the person that's actually pretty quiet? Like, you just don't say a whole lot. You're not going to raise your hand, of course. It's like there's a bunch of us, and probably more women than men, the way this culture lays out. But it's like we want to design systems where you raise your hand, where we are asking you to the point of uncomfort. There's this phrase that is often used in the social movement, or step up, step back. If I started a meeting like this in the social movement context, I'd say, and everyone would probably understand this, it's so in this meeting, let's step up and step back. If you're often participating and speaking, Dave, go ahead and take a step back. Listen, and it's not, your ideas are great, Dave, you're great. It's not a criticism, it's just a recognition of a design intention. And if you're one of the ones who don't say a lot, I'm not going to look at you. Certainly not going to call your name out. I'm just going to say it, and you know who I'm talking to, but I'm not going to look at you. If you're one of the folks in the room that doesn't say a lot, we're really asking you to try this session to speak up, because we really want your wisdom, we want your ideas. No pressure, but that's our intention. Right? We all agree with that? Yeah, of course we agree with that. So then you're sort of like, okay, I'm going to go to my edge of comfort, and I'm like, I'm going to go to my edge of comfort, which is to sit back, raise hand. Authority and responsibility, that's one of the places that we in organizations have landed power, that if you have responsibility for something, you should likely have more authority over it. It's a communist idea that the people doing the work should be in control of the design elements of their labor. And it's not just a communist, it's a great idea that right now we don't do that. The people that do things, and Mitt Romney keeps saying, I earned $300 million. Like, what? All he did was pillage other people's labor and resources and money, destroy lives and communities, and he's like an international criminal, no question about it. In my, not just like rant, like my actual understanding of even law and culture. It's utterly inappropriate what he does, yet it's celebrated. And he has the arrogance to use the word earn. It's like, wow, there's no earning going. I mean, yeah, he earned something, but it's probably in the $40,000 to $50,000 a year. $1 million a year. You know, there's something about that there was a tangent, but I'll get off this. I'm very, very frightened. With our last couple minutes here, just any other comments about power and authority, responsibility that you would have?
I'm part of a heart circle. I've been part of a heart circle for 5 years, where their concept is to not have any facilitation, where everybody, sort of is. But I'm hearing, and also in this music thing that we do, and basically it happens at my house or somebody else's, and I'm just seeing that the idea of rotating some sort of quote facilitation is actually it's really intrinsic part of what's really is happening or should be happening.
Well, shoulds is a valid
Should is,
question,
I know.
but I think, and a couple things about this, I mean, not knowing the idea of the heart circle, I'm assuming it's a non-decision-making agenda, it's not
Right.
about business or
Right.
something. So when we convene those circles, it's a very different kind of circle than a work meeting. For example, like in our OAC work, we have our annual planning process. We go about 40 hours of meeting with 14 people. I facilitate all those because it's my core job. I'm the circuit runner. I meet with all 14 and help them. My job is to help them self-actualize in their position at OAC by delivering a vision of where their programs to go, a budget, their needs, their staffing and resource needs, and then to bring that all together into the ginormous spreadsheet that shows everybody can have it what we all want, of course, given the revenue. So we can either grow revenue, we can cut, but instead of like me deciding that, people are like, Dave's such a fuck, he always cuts my budget. It's like everybody thinks that. It's like, well, let's all look at the budget and let's make the decision together. So anybody got any ideas for new revenue? And we churn out new ideas all the time because everyone's empowered to really think it through, and we're making a decision about it. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible for that piece of our overall work. And so I facilitate all those meetings, not to control it, but because it's information, and then I have the responsibility, and thus I should have some of the authority. In this case, it's not authority to make decisions, it's authority to deliver the information and the questions in a really organized way. That's so much. That's my job, right? Back to your heart circle, it's like probably you don't want to get too structured because that's the whole nature of it. It's like we'll talk about later, council here is where we don't have an agenda, you don't respond, nobody writes anything down, you don't bring pen and pencil. It's all about listening and speaking your heart, and that's a great thing. It's a different, that's a circle to achieve a certain set of outcomes and needs. The other circle, planning process for OAC's budget, is a whole nother kind of thing, where our staff meetings, we rotate facilitation, and I'm imagining those of you who raise your hand, it's like you're waiting till your turn to come up. You facilitate for 3 months, and you're the note taker before that for 3 months. So you get in the habit of paying attention, and you also take good notes because you're going to expect it from somebody else. Then you facilitate. So everybody watches, and when you facilitate a meeting, then you have a lot more perspective, and you're a lot easier on the facilitator when you're just a participant, because it's like, wow, it's really hard, and it's so easy to make all kinds of mistakes. So by rotating facilitation year after year,